Ow! Boy, we need a coyote around here today, I'll tell you. Hi, everybody. Friday the 29th, full moon, Fun Astrology Podcast. Thomas Miller, thank you so much for poking your head in the door. We'll talk about all the stuff in the sky. We have three big convergences going on today. The first one is what we just heard. The full moon is an early full moon today, 5:57 a.m. Eastern Time at 6 degrees Aries. So that means the moon is over there and the sun is over here. It's at 6 degrees Libra. The reason I point that out is because we talked about this the other day, this Mars South Node conjunction that is also forming in Libra down on the other end of the sign at 21 and 24 degrees today. That's Mars approaching the south node of the moon for its conjunction next Tuesday. That was the one that we mentioned the other day that was there in 1987, a week before the big market crash in October. So that, in old ancient Hellenistic astrology terms, you would say was the neighbor of this full moon. That's not true for you Hellenists out there. I'm just being a little bit facetious. But to say that it is in the same sign as the sun, and of course, Mars will be opposite the north node, which is over there in its own sign of Aries. So we already know that the undisputable pattern is, ask anybody who works with any people, groups of people, what happens around the full moon. We've mentioned this so many times. So we know that that is already just there if nothing else were around it. But this is around it. So what kind of Mars South Node are we going to experience here? Whatever it is, it's seasoned, shall we say, by the full moon. Full moons can leave a little bit of residual energy for up to a couple of days. So this continues on into the weekend. Now, Libra is the focus here in my book, more so than where the moon is in Aries. Why? Good question. Because if we look at the rulers, okay, so let's just say the ruler of Aries, where this full moon is happening, is Mars in Libra, which is ruled by Venus in Leo, which today arrives at an exact square with Uranus at 1:52 this afternoon. Uranus is retrograde in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. See what we're coming back to? Which also rules Libra. So to me, the spotlight focus of what the triggers are around this are all Venusian. So what did we boil it down to? Love, money, family, all things beautiful in our lives, including our creative expressions like our art, music, dance, etc. Intimacy, sex and sexuality, all things Venus could be some way, somehow in your own life and mine triggered or amplified or spotlighted through this full moon. So today represents a lot of energetic power in the sky over our heads. We are experiencing it and feeling it in some kind of way. And then, and this was more of a last week thing, and because I have to record sometimes a day or two in advance, sometimes these things don't get in, but the solar flares that have continued in this solar cycle 25 that we are in, that big one last week was spectacular. I ran across a Twitter image of it. I put it in our Facebook group, but I'll stick it in the show notes here today in case you didn't see this. It is amazing. And up in the upper right, you'll see the size of the scope of the Earth in comparison. And that's been continuing into this week. So there's just a lot converging, a lot energetically converging right now. One other aspect of note here related to this full moon is that Pluto in retrograde, slowing down, Pluto's slowing down. Now, there's an interesting thought. It's already slow, but it is slowing down because on October 10th, it stations back direct from its retrograde path. It is at 27 degrees Capricorn. That puts it in a square relationship with that Mars South Node in Libra. And it is a square, so there is that tension. And I'm not so worried about us, our highest timeline folks. And by the way, if you want to pick up a highest timeline coffee mug or a level up coffee mug, maybe a Christmas present early, Sarah has them on sale in the shop, spiritualdesigns11.etsy.com. Got that down now, pretty good, working. But you can get some early holiday stuff done on sale right there if you'd like to, and it's cool. That Level Up Cup is just cool. But we were talking about higher timeline, and the higher timeline path with that Pluto square over there to that is going to say that, okay, if something presents, let's say around that Mars South Node, basically what it gives us is this extra juice to be able to release something really big, especially if it's related to one of those Venusian areas we just discussed. Because you come to the table of that square and you say, hey, even if the universe is moving something away or synchronistically something is not working out in one of those areas, you just release it like there's no grip on it. You're not fighting to retain something that just is going to take wings and let it go. But the collective is a whole nother story. And obviously, that's the one that we are more concerned about right now. Interesting as well, we talked about the sun and the moon being on opposite signs, Aries for the moon, Libra for the sun. The midpoint between those two is at 6 degrees Capricorn. So it's, there's a Capricorn connection with Pluto. So Pluto, to me, has a seat at this table as well, a pretty big one. And being that it's at that same degree as it was, the same location in the chart, minus just a few minutes from where it was in 1776 when the United States was quote-unquote born, we have that whole dynamic happening again over our heads as well. And I know you're saying, well, what about the eclipses? What about the eclipses? Well, we'll talk about those next week. We'll have plenty of time to set that up in advance, but we have that coming around the corner too. Ray Merriman tomorrow, Level Up with me Sunday night, and then back here again on Monday, and we'll start talking the E word. You guys have a great weekend. I love you so much. Let's leave it with an ow.